welcome in everybody to another episode of the Allan Show, where we interview your favorite actors and celebrities from film, television, music, comedy, more. Wherever pop culture hangs out, you will find us there, sitting on a park bench waiting to talk to somebody. And today we are chatting with the amazingly talented Jonathan Stoddard about his current project and other things. Killer Ambition, available now on the Lifetime Movie Network, among other things. Jonathan, welcome into the show. It's great to have you here today.
Brett, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here and to be talking with you. Thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have to say, we'll start out with the fact that you have been a part of so many amazing projects and things like this, but Killer Ambition is just absolutely fun. It premiered on Lifetime Movie Network in January, but is still going strong. I mean, that's the beauty of the Lifetime Network. I mean, you can turn it on and you're always going to find some sort of entertaining project. How did you get involved with this, Jonathan? And if you can let people in on that and sort of what your character's like for those who have not had the opportunity to watch it quite yet.
Absolutely. I got involved because I had worked with the director, Lindsay Hartley, who is hands down one of my favorite directors I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
And she and I did a rom-com like 6 months prior. And a very different tone, very different feeling. And I had sent her, she was getting ready to direct this kind of like intense suspense one right before this, Killer Ambition. And I sent her my reel and I was like, I don't just do rom-com stuff. Like I like the dark drama, like give me that possibility. And from there, she saw the reel. I didn't get cast in that one, but then a couple months later, she called and said, I'm doing this movie. And it wasn't called Killer Ambition then. It was a different name. But she called me in and I was shooting another project in Arkansas. And I did the audition in my hotel room, was able to book it, and then literally jumped from set to LA and started filming. And to give a little background, so Killer Ambition is about a woman jeweler who's Tawny. She's amazing. And she gets invited into this very advanced, prestigious women's in leadership kind of club.
Yeah.
But they were all like ambitious to the point of a fault, like either covering things up, some sketchy things, stealing designs and all that kind of stuff. And so I play her boyfriend who's kind of, two-faced, taking pictures, stealing things, and I'm not in the good crowd.
No, you play a really good bad guy, along with everybody else that you're with. We have a show favorite on there as well, Sean Cannon, who's been on the podcast a couple times. Mike Barnes from Karate Kid 3. I mean, you guys all do so really well. Now, my understanding is when you're filming these types of shows, they move pretty fast, correct? Like there's not a lot of time. It's kind of a run and gun sort of thing, because when you're filming these, they tend to make it straight to network pretty quickly, right? Like it's like we're filming and then maybe a month or so. Was that the case for this one, or was this kind of one of those weird ones where you're in the middle of the pandemic and you're kind of on lockdown and trying to get as much done as you possibly can?
Well, we always have to be sensitive to, of course, the big C word. But outside of that, with filming, these do move pretty fast. Some of them faster than others. This one had a little bit of breath to it. I think we clocked in just under a month shoot.
Okay.
And we did big things like, we have like the big yacht scene. So we did awesome yacht stuff, great locations, the houses. So we moved pretty fast, but it was still reasonable, so that everyone still felt comfortable to give performances and work without that pressure of one take wonders kind of thing.
Sure.
It was great.
Yeah, that's great when you have a lot of time. I was talking to some folks, the Meghan Markle one that came out last year, and they did that one like in 9 or 10 days, I think. It's unbelievable like how fast these productions can be done, but they're also shot really well, like a film. It's very nice. And you just have a fantastic cast, and I'm really excited. If people haven't had the opportunity to watch this yet, that they absolutely have to. I sort of want to switch gears here, Jonathan, because again, you've done a lot of things, but the big question, and I think our listeners and viewers would find interesting, is how did you become a storyteller? What was it that interested you in pursuing acting as a career?
The easiest. Well, I do want to say, just really quick, because you did mention the cast on Killer Ambition is phenomenal. Like
Yeah, they're
Sean,
so good.
amazing. Like I still talk with everyone on that cast regularly, and they're just incredible, and we had a wonderful time. But so for acting, my parents are psychiatrists.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, and you're from the
yeah,
Bay Area too, correct? Which is where
yeah.
we're located. So,
Oh, nice. Yeah,
we're in San Jose. So we're just sidetracking
yeah.
here. Where in the Bay Area are you from?
So I was born in like Terra Linda, San Rafael.
Okay, not
So on the other
beautiful
side.
area. Yeah, Terra Linda is great. Yeah. So anyway, I digress. I apologize. Parents
No,
are
no, yeah.
psychiatrists. You're from the Bay Area. Okay.
Well, so I will say I'm on location filming right now, and I'm in a hotel room, and the area code, like my room number is 415, and I'm like the
Nice.
Bay Area. Ah.
Yes, can't go wrong there.
Yes. But so my parents are psychiatrists. So for me, like the reaction is usually twofold. It's either, wow, you probably really have your boop together, or it's, I'm really messed up.
Yeah,
um, and so
damaged
that,
in some sort of way. That's
yeah,
kind of the trope, I think, for most actors. Not necessarily always the case, but tends to be the assumption, I think, a lot of times.
well, especially with therapists, yeah. So I don't
Yeah.
know. The verdict is still out on that one. But I will say, to answer your question, the stage, like growing up on theater, so musical dramatic theater, that's where I felt the most free. There was no regulation. There was no like questioning of how does this make you feel or what's going on, or let's talk about it for a number of hours. It was like a playground for emotions and physical and stuff like that. So then later I pursued a bunch of other careers first, and then started asking myself that question in my early 20s, of like, what would I do if I was a millionaire, right? What would I
Hmm.
do if money or paying the rent wasn't a thing? And the only thing that I always turned back to for fun, comfort, evolution of myself, humanity, everything, was always acting. And
Yeah.
so making that transition, though, I will say, from stage to film, very different. It is a different art form, everything about it. And it's been a really rocky road. My career didn't start taking off until about 5 years ago.
Yeah, I've heard other people say that before as well, because like, yeah, you're performing and you're on stage every night and you're doing all these different things, but really it's like a different muscle. It's not necessarily the same. And a lot of actors like yourself who sort of make the jump from one to the other, you know, I understand it's harder to go from acting on stage to television than from like television to stage. Like it's kind of the reverse sort of thing. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the case for you, but I mean, it sounds like it was kind of an interesting journey. And you mean having been doing this for so long, but really kind of feeling like that you just have started to take off then in the last 5 years, but then has to be satisfying as an entertainer and a performer, right? Because you're like, this is what I know I'm supposed to be doing, even though, my family is maybe perhaps doing the exact opposite thing that I'm doing, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, everyone else around you is like, oh yeah, I'm still doing the same job for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, my life and my career and my job ends after production, and I don't know if I'm hired after that. So, yay, I'm great. I'm totally sane. Don't worry about me. I won't cry in my bedroom. I'm fine. Like,
It's funny.
you know,
Yeah. You sort of kind of like, you're doing this job and it's great, but after a few weeks in, or maybe a month in, you probably start thinking to yourself, oh, I got to start looking for another job again.
oh yeah,
Like for those of us who might work a regular 9 to 5 or whatever the case might be, it's different because we have that steady paycheck and we know well, most of us know, uh, tomorrow we're going to have a job, unless like what happened in the last 2 years. But for you, especially as an actor, because you guys really, felt the brunt of a lot of it, because from what
oh
I
yeah,
was understanding, there's not a lot of like that unemployment sort of thing necessarily for actors, or this, that, or the other, because it's such a different world than what most of us are a part of. But I'm glad to see that things have worked out well for you. This is a great film, and we're all excited to see what's next for you, my friend. I guess the big
thank you.
question, absolutely, what is some of the best advice that you've ever been given as a performer, or maybe just in life, that has sort of sustained you and kept you on the trajectory that you've been on, Jonathan?
I think the best advice, which is also probably the hardest to implement, is how do I say this? It's basically trust yourself and break the rules.
Yeah.
And what that translates into of trust yourself and break the rules, like make it yourself, is because as artists, when there isn't a hierarchy established, we always feel like we have to answer to somebody else. Like as actors, we feel like we have to surrender to the advice of our managers. We have to surrender to the advice of agents. We have to surrender to the advice of everyone else around us. So we don't take that ownership. We look for somebody else to be the CEO of our company, but this is our company. I am the product. This is our job. This is our life.
Yeah.
And we don't have an obvious hierarchy, power structure, a boss to turn to. We're the boss, we're the performer, we're the product, we're the sales agent, we're the marketer. My career didn't start taking off until I decided to stop listening to people and start trusting my instincts and then paving that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. One other topic I did want to talk about, sort of going backwards again here. You've also been a part of the soap opera world, which is huge. You had a huge role on The Young and the Restless as young John Abbott. That experience for you too, I imagine, prepared you for a lot of different things, because soap operas film, and especially Sean too, coming from the soap opera world as well. You know, that's another world in itself, right? As far as how production is done, unless it's changed. I hear it used to be very drudgerous as far as like filming, but now it's pretty run and gun, as far as how they can get things done, you know, and put an episode out, because those are all pretty much in real time as well, right?
Well, they have like when they're in flow, it's about a day or two turnaround on things.
Okay.
And it was actually really fun when Killer Ambition came out. There were a bunch of news articles that were like, Sean from Bold and the Beautiful against Jonathan from Young and the Restless.
I love it.
It was just a fun thing. But yeah, when I first got on the show like three and a half years ago, I couldn't eat for 2 days. I panicked. Network TV is so, on this scale, was so different.
Yeah.
It's 1 or 2 takes. You show up, you do blocking for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you go and you sit in your room. And then 3 hours later, they call you up, or they might have like 6 pages of changes or whatever, and you have to be on point, get it. You get 1 take, and that's it. 4 camera angles, and you move on. It is a different world. You don't get to play to discover during performance. You have to nail it during performance.
Yeah, I can imagine, because time is money as always. Well, fantastic. Killer Ambition, again, now available on the Lifetime Movie Network. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us on location on this is a day off, I assume, and hanging out. Be sure to check out the video and audio, everybody. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, brother. Have a good one.